What's
Yo,
up?
Justin, what's up, my man? It's Sunday. It's We Talking About Sports. We're back with another Sunday session. It's a two-man show. It's still 10-ish, as you can see there. We start usually at 10 a.m., but we have the ish just for moments like this where we have to come on a little late. But Justin, how's your Sunday going? How's your weekend going? Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, Sunday's going right. Starting to get a little bit better. I was out last week, or last Wednesday when we did the show. I was a little sick, under the weather, but I'm back. I'm potting in the dark here. You don't see the lights normally because it bothers me right now, but we're getting better, and I'm excited because we have Selection Sunday upon us. You're gonna get to
Yes,
see who's in and
we
who
have
is out.
selection Sunday. Who's in, who's out? College football style, not college basketball with the 64 teams. This time it's just down to four. We've been talking about it all season. Justin's been leading us through our college football discussion. Before we get into the Sunday, let's talk about what happened on Saturday. Justin, TCU went down. You've been saying, I quoted the phrase for you: zero margin for error for
Yeah.
these guys the past couple of weeks, ever since they got thrust into the national scene where it looked like they might actually have a chance to make the college football playoff. And you've been saying zero margin for error. They finally go down. What say you about what happened yesterday?
Well, I think at the end of the day, what happened with TCU is yes, they go down, but they kept it respectable in the loss. They lose in overtime. They don't get blown out. I don't feel like you can punish TCU for that. So at minimum, TCU, in my opinion, should be one of the four. Now I'm going to keep it real with you. I've been trying to tell you since the start. I'm not a believer in TCU. They've done this all year. It finally bit them in the butt. I don't see them winning a playoff game, regardless of where they see them.
But they deserve to be in.
They deserve to be in
They
there.
des-
It is not their fault, so they deserve
And
to be there.
and do you think some of that too? I mean, obviously, we look at their resume. I think their resume is pretty good when you put them up against some of these other teams that are in contention for that Final Four spot, and you talk about the third and fourth really being up for contention. But does USC losing on Friday? We talked about this weekend. The weekend started on Friday. We had the Pac-12 championship game. USC, they were occupying that fourth spot. They lost. Do you think that helps TCU even more? It gives them a little ended up giving them some margin for error, if you will.
Absolutely, it did. And USC had all the chances to make it right. They played Utah, the team they lost to by 1 point in the season. And Caleb Williams, he did what he did his thing. 3 touchdowns, went off where he could. They got up early. You thought it was going to be USC blowout in that first quarter. But Utah, just a tough team led by their quarterback, Cam Rising, a tough quarterback. We saw the hit stick. We saw him blow it off like it was nothing, get back in there. And they end up blowing out USC, man. USC, with the issues with Caleb Williams being hurt, I don't want to see them in the playoff, and they shouldn't be. They got 2 losses to the same team. They couldn't prove that they could beat their best counter in the Pac-12. What are they going to do against some of these other teams in the Big Ten and the SEC? It's not happening for USC.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine USC, that defense, lining up and trying to stop Michigan in a
Hell no.
In a Big Ten?
And that's what it came down to. In the trenches, Lincoln Riley still can't win in the trenches.
Caleb Williams was compromised out there. I mean,
From that
from
big
when I
run, he
started
got that
watching in the
cut in the
second
finger.
half, yeah, he wasn't even trying to run. So
Yeah.
obviously something was wrong with him out there. But Justin, in case, because there's no games being played this week, maybe you guys do we do a show, but if we don't, and this is your prediction time, because we got the selection show coming up. What's your top four?
So as it stands, what I would like to see for my top four, I would like to see Georgia 1. I would like to
Okay,
see Michigan number 2.
agreed. I'm there with you. I'm there with you on
And
both
then
of
I would
them.
like to see 3 Ohio State to play Michigan one more time to see if we can get them this time. That's just a fan of me.
Okay.
And then 4 TCU. I think Georgia deserves the easier route because they've been number 1 for the majority of the season. I think whoever plays TCU gets a bye week, and I don't think Michigan should be rewarded with that. I think it should be Georgia.
So I agree with your top four, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just playing devil's advocate, as I was a few weeks ago on the college football show when Bama went down for the second time, and I said, "Hey guys, they didn't drop down that far. they didn't go down too far after that second loss. Maybe is this the college football committee keeping them in play to maybe sneak back in, even though they weren't going to have the SEC championship game to try and bolster their resume? Is there any way the committee does TCU dirty and put Alabama in? Because I agree with you, Ohio State, they're sneaking back in. I think Ohio State's back in. Is there any way Bama takes over TCU, or was that game close enough that TCU stays in at number 4?
There's definitely a path for Bama to make this top 4, and I guarantee there was conversations all night with the committee on why Bama should be there. Bama shows up in the college football playoff. They always end up in the national championship. I don't think there's been in the playoff where they don't make the national championship. So the committee's looking at that for sure. And we saw Nick Saban come on during the Big Ten championship game, trying to make his pitch at halftime on why Alabama should be one of those 4 teams. He said, if you're looking at these fringe teams and you put us against them, who would be favored? If we're favored, then we're a better team. Saban, calm down, sir. You were favored against LSU. You were favored against Tennessee, and you had 2 losses. You just don't have the resume this year. Do I think you're better than TCU? Absolutely. But they did what they did to get there. You didn't. I'm sorry. I think you have to be left out. Would they be favored over TCU? Absolutely. Over Ohio State? Probably a 3-point favorite over Ohio State as well. But you just don't have the resume. I'm sorry.
Agreed. And I'm usually on Bama's side in these situations because, you're just pointing to the fact they don't have the resume. They usually do have the resume. So I'm usually for them, in kind of these situations, but can't disagree with you there. And the other thing that I'll point to is those 2 losses easily could have been 4 losses this year with the way things went against A&M and the way things went against Texas. Both going Bama's way in those situations could have been, 4 losses, and we're looking at, a completely different situation here. But shout out Diego, yes, and Mbappe. But it looks like he's getting another one, if I'm not mistaken, because he's lining it up again. Yeah, we're talking about France and Poland. That's the other thing that's been going on. The World Cup round of 16, USA got knocked out yesterday against the Netherlands. We talked about that on the show during the week about the USA potentially having a chance. Ultimately, I think it just comes down to class and quality of, what you do with your scoring chances. Netherlands, obviously, they have the class to put in those opportunities to, find the back of the net. USA, not so much. Went down to the second minute of the game. Christian Pulisic had a chance to put a freak bounce, no matter how it got to him, it still did. And he had a 1-on-1 with the goalie, didn't net it. USA gets knocked out. What was it, Justin? 3-1?
3-1 in the end.
What was your takeaway on USA? What's your takeaway on US soccer in general moving forward?
It looks like the future is bright for US soccer. The players that showed up to this World Cup were pretty young. I still don't like some of the politics I see. I still think Gio Reyna should have been playing from the start. It's crazy to have him come on as super sub time when we're down so much and ask that from him. They just played into Netherlands' hands. Netherlands were trying to counter. They were letting us play the possession game, and we were on our side or their side of the field for the majority of the time, and they would hit us with the counter, and they just got better shooters at the end of the day. We had opportunities, and we was just dancing in the box, passing it around, instead of letting shooters shoot. And when you don't put up opportunities, put up shots, this is the expectation that you can have, is that you're going to lose this game. Very proud of the boys, for making it to the Cup this year, not like the last time we were around, and for advancing out of the group stage, man. It's as much as I can ask for from them for now. I do expect a further step next 4 years with the talent that we have now.
And the world is going to be expecting the United States to take the next step, because you mentioned it in your take right now. Definitely a young team. I think they were talking about average age like 24 or 25 on this team. So by the time they get to the World Cup in North America, these boys should be ready to go. They should be in their primes, should be able to capitalize and hopefully, get the United States to the round of 8, maybe even round of 4. But I don't know if we can make that big of a jump that quickly, but I would take round of 8. from these guys. They definitely have the talent. And to your point, it just comes down to what you do in the box. We got to have that quality, and I don't know, we can find that in 4 years. So
did you
we'll
make
see.
anything out of the USA head coach and his comments after the game about his players?
No, what did he say?
They were throwing him under the bus at all? He was saying, well, we don't have any Memphis Depies.
Well, I mean, facts. It's true. I mean, you saw what Memphis did as soon as he touched that ball in the first half. It wasn't even a question where that ball was going. It was back of the net every single 10 times out of 10.
I saw somebody throw it back at him, rolling, and say, well, we don't have any Pep Guardiolas.
Yeah, we don't have a Pep
or we don't have the coaches either. So
yeah, it's true. We don't have that quality mind either at the top ranks. So we'll see. Definitely, another little step forward for the United States. But what we definitely can't do is take a step back, because remember, these same expectations were there. Let's call it 8 years ago, and then the 4 years went by for us to qualify for this past World Cup. Didn't happen. And then, filtered out some guys and, moved on to this group. But we'll see what happens next 4 years. Any predictions for the World Cup going forward before we actually get into football?
Just looking like France is the strongest team out there. I know I might be prisoner of the moment because they just 3-1 Poland, but I saw the group stage and it seemed like they just playing the best football in the world right now. I would have liked to see Brazil, but I see these injuries starting to stack up heavily. And I'm not sure if there's enough out there for them.
Neymar's supposed to be good to go for round of 16, so we'll see what happens. But give me France the rest of the way. Even though I was talking to you offline, I have a small interest in Argentina.
Yeah.
But Argentina been kind of shaky, and they got a tough matchup with the Netherlands coming up here in the round of 8, the team that just beat the United States. But before we get into football, we do have a little message for you guys. It is from our partners here at Top Grade Physical Therapy. We got them going down there at the bottom. You can find them in McAllen, Texas. And Justin, why don't you take us away?
Here's the ad.
Get in top grade shape with Top Grade Physical Therapy. Let Dr. Rufino Gutierrez and his team give you the manual therapy you need. Soft tissue massages, joint manipulation and mobilization, trigger point dry needling, cupping, plus much more. Visit Top Grade Therapy today, 2801 West Expressway 83, Suite 210 in McAllen, or call 956-854-4364. It's not physical therapy if it's not top grade.
There you go. It's not physical therapy if it's not top grade. Guys, look at how clean those offices are. Go get yourself taken care of. If you got any aches, any problems, go see Dr. Rufino Gutierrez at Top Grade Physical Therapy. He will take care of you, man.
Hell yeah. Thank you for running that. Thank you guys at Top Grade. And shout out Alan. Alan in the comments, as always, saying U.S. has to accept the fact that we're behind the curve in soccer, and it might be fun just to cheer for them, but just accept the fact that we're not really a contender. Are you fine with that, Justin? Do you want more?
Oh, absolutely. I want more, but I totally get that. We're not at the same level. We are starting to see more of our American players play in Europe. Now, there's two things to that. Is it because they are skillful, or is it because these European teams are buying American players to grow the sport in America? I don't know, just to get the fans involved and cheer for those teams. Not sure what's happening, but it does seem like some of the players have the skill to play over in Europe.
Yeah, wasn't that the case? I think with Leeds United, there's like an influx of American talent.
Yes.
Out there. I know Venezia was another team that did it last year, got a bunch of American guys. But that's a good point too, Justin. Do they have the merit to be over there? I think a lot of them do. Like the guy that you mentioned, Gio Reyna, definitely has a merit to be over there. Would like to see
playing
him.
At Barcelona, plays sometimes. I mean,
yeah. I like Dest too. Good player. Yeah, definitely.
He's playing for the wrong team, but I like him.
Definitely some talent. But like I said, let's get into some football, some American football. I think we can have that debate another day, but let's get into some American football. So we talking about sports. We're here Sundays, 10 a.m.-ish in cases like this. We had a game on Thursday. I thought this line was a little wild. Patriots were playing at home. Bills were only 4-point favorites against the Patriots. I think a lot of people saw what the Patriots did against the Vikings the week before with that offensive explosion. Thought they might be able to hang with the Bills. The over-under closed at 44 from what I saw, and it pushed with this total that we're looking at. Bills 24, Patriots 10. We see Mac Jones here a little frustrated. I think he's yelling at Matt Patricia, telling him that his play calling sucks and that the
quick game sucks
and that the run game sucks as well. What are your thoughts on the Patriots, Justin? Are you a Mac Jones guy? Do you think this guy is the answer for the Patriots, the next one moving forward?
No, I'm not a Mac Jones guy. I think we had the conversation last time with the Bailey Zappi thing, and I was like, I'm more
Oh, that's
Bailey
right.
Zappi than
Yeah.
I'm Mac Jones at this
You're on
point.
that Zappy hour.
I don't think Bailey Zappi is much better than Mac Jones, but he just got a little more moxie than him. And that's what they're about even to me. Maybe Mac Jones has a slight edge, a more understanding of the game, better pedigree of college. You can say things like that. But I just like Zappi a little more. I don't think this is the answer for the Patriots at quarterback. I think they're starting to see that they're looking kind of mediocre. That early touchdown they got from them came from a guy who's not even a receiver. He was a cornerback all year, taking his first snap on offense.
I saw that.
So looks like they just 1 week they have the answers, 1 week they don't. I don't know if Matt Patricia's the answer either at offensive coordinator.
Yeah, shout out Joe, resident Patriots fan here.
Yeah, Joe.
Biggest Patriots fan I know. Says Patriots need a better offensive coordinator. That's actually where I was going to go with it. That was probably the most surprising coaching transaction or transition I think this past offseason was Matt Patricia being hired as the offensive coordinator. A guy that, I mean, he was previously the defensive coordinator when he rose to fame with the Patriots, writing that to a job with the Lions where he ended up getting fired. Defense being his calling card, you hear he gets hired as an offensive coordinator. You just have to wonder if Mac Jones has regressed because of that hire and them going to Matt Patricia. Maybe, look, the thing I'll say is Mac Jones, he looked out of all the rookie quarterbacks, last year, I would say he looked as one of the guys that was like in the most control. Like you could tell he knew what he was doing out there. Like he knew where his reads were. He was quick out of the pocket. He had a quick release, knew where he was going with the ball. This year is just like, I don't know. I feel like he's taken two steps back. So hopefully they don't ruin him. To your point, I don't know if he's necessarily like the next guy that's going to, I don't know if he's going to be the next Patriot quarterback to raise the Lombardi for them. But I hope that, Patricia doesn't ruin this guy because, say what you will about Patricia and, they have 6 wins or whatever, but the more of that's because of the defense and anything Patricia's done as the offensive coordinator. So, and there's Ron shouting out his boy, Mac Jones, one of his boys.
That's Alabama Ron, though. We're seeing Alabama Ron in full effect right now.
Alabama Ron, I love it. Ron's in the comments, not here, but he is with us in spirit. And True Allen, agreed. Looked established as a rookie, having a little bit of a sophomore slump. Definitely third year is going to be a show me year, depending on how they finish out the rest of the season. I think we got a new nickname for Ron.
Alabama Ron.
Justin just coined it. Didn't have any plays in Thursday.
I think Ronnie Tsunami is a good one too, Roland. I heard you call that one out yesterday. Ronnie Tsunami. I like that
Ronnie
one too.
Tsunami? Yeah. They're at the beach. All right, this brings us to week 13. We got through with what happened on Thursday. This is the slate that we have out in front of us. We got some pretty good games, I would say. Some pretty close spreads that we'll get into here later on. But just popping off the screen, I would say the biggest game here on the screen is Kansas City, Cincinnati. You got any early leans in that game, Justin?
Oh, I got to lean Kansas City. I feel like Kansas City, to me, and I've been looking at the NFL and I'm trying to figure out who's really good in the NFL. I have question marks on a lot of teams. I don't feel like I've questioned Kansas City as much this year. I feel like they're a good team. So Kansas City, I lean that way.
It's crazy that you say that because I want to say they were probably one of the more questioned teams coming into the season because they lost Tyreek Hill. And we talked about how loaded the AFC West was coming to the season.
Yeah.
But I'll say these guys with Mahomes and Reed, however long Reed stays on as a coach, they're the next Patriots. I mean, they're the Patriots with Brady and Belichick in terms of, and I said it in the preseason, like everyone's going to try and call their demise every year, but they're just going to keep on coming back. They're just like cockroaches. You can't stomp them out. They're always going to find a way to come back. Another big matchup, and that I want to get your opinion on before we move on to, injury report and weather related stuff is Commanders versus the Giants, NFC East matchup, beasts of the East getting together. What say you on this matchup? Giants dealing with a bunch of injuries. Washington, have they found their quarterback of the future? Is Heineke just, getting an extra year as the bridge guy till they actually find a real dude, or what are your thoughts on what's going on here in Washington?
I think Heineke gives them the best option currently over Wentz. So glad that Wentz is still out for them and they can show Heineke off. They should have learned their lesson last year when they had some reasonable games last year with him where they were in potential to win some of those. I think he's their best option. I think he's the bridge, though. I think they're going to move on when they can. I don't think they'll settle with him. They didn't want to do it last year. I don't see why they would want to do it this year. Commanders seem to find their way. I think they've, six wins in a row?
Yep.
So they seem to find their path. They look like a tough team now, and that has to go to Heineke for keeping them afloat.
Definitely.
And you did mention this game, Ron, but the game that intrigues me the most, that 305 slot, Miami versus San Francisco, because you got one of the better teams in the AFC versus a tough defense in the NFC, and one of the better teams for the NFC, and they're matching up. And then you got the whole parallel of the coach being the ex 49er coach, and now he's the head coach of the Dolphins. We're going to see them return. That game, to me, today, has got my intrigue. That's the one that has got my attention the most.
3 o'clock is a loaded time slot with those two games that you just mentioned, Miami versus San Francisco and KC versus Cincinnati. Shoot, first glance on that San Francisco Miami game, I got to lean San Fran just because they're at home. I like the way they're playing. They're hitting their strides. They're getting healthy. But I mean, same thing with Miami. They're kind of, they're just getting a clean bill of health now with Mostert coming back. Tua avoided major injury earlier in the year. So I like the way this Miami team's looking. They're competing with the Bills right now for the AFC East. They got one more game left to decide who wins that division. So definitely looking forward to this week's slate of football games. And without, just want to mention it real quick, Arizona and Carolina are the two teams on bye. I think this is it for bye weeks. The last two teams getting their byes out of the way.
Armageddon is gone, man. We're done with it.
So like guys like Hopkins, Marquise Brown, Kyler Murray, not available to you guys, and DJ Moore for the Carolina Panthers. All right, let's move into the weather. Got, Pittsburgh and Atlanta playing in that dome up there. Just looking just real closely compared to the past couple of weeks, I don't think we're going to see weather affect too many games here. Just want to make sure, always going to be dealing with wind in Chicago between Green Bay and the Chicago Bears. They're in the Windy City. But other than that,
sun's out though. Sun's out there.
Yeah, other than that, we got some good football ready to go.
Good football weather, baby.
Only one game with double-digit wins. So, yeah, looking good, looking good. Injury report also starting to clear up. This is all fantasy related. If you guys were just to type in NFL injury report and go on to NFL.com, these injury reports are loaded. Like, you really have to look into them, because you got a bunch of guys, limited practice, and just honestly throughout the year, it adds up. But fantasy-wise, pretty light this week. A bunch of usual suspects, some guys that have been there the past couple of weeks, like Judy and Sutton. Sutton does look like he's going to go. Haven't heard anything on Judy. As we go throughout the podcast, we will be looking for notifications. And if you guys get anything, drop them in the comments, and we'll update the group. But from what I can tell, Sutton is going to go. Judy still up in the air. Tony's out. Mike Williams out again. The Rams kind of wrapping it up. Matthew Stafford. Wanted just to point out that we're calling it a neck injury now. It was a concussion at first, but there's some neck issues lingering, maybe some nerve damage. They put him on IR. He's pretty much done the rest of the season. Justin, that's where I want to leave the conversation. Have we seen the last of Matt Stafford? Is there a possibility?
Yeah, I think this is it for him. He's got his ring. You don't want to get too – why get too many more head injuries? Everyone's on a deal where it's about to expire. The coach said he's out when they're out too. I think the Rams Super Bowl window, what they did last year, they capitalized on it. They got their championship. So what stay for now? You're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. Why go through it another year? You got your ring. You got your yardage. That's it.
I can't add anything to that take. I agree. That's where I stand with the Rams too. We knew what they were doing when they were accumulating all that talent. They were just selling out for, that 1 or 2 Super Bowl runs, or, just chances or bites at the apple. They got their bite. They got their championship. And, it is what it is. I think the other, coin to this or side of this is Sean McVay is not the guy that we may have thought that he was. Like everybody was calling him this genius or offensive genius or what have you. And like, he's the next brains, like, you just got to have this guy. I think we're coming to find out that might not be the case. He was just buoyed by a lot of talent. So that's the other thing here is that, McVay's just might not be that guy. So like you said, they're all pretty much tied to each other. So once this, group of players goes, McVay will probably go too. And shout out to the Rams. You guys got your title, but
nobody can take it away from them.
Yeah,
they
no
did
one
what
can exactly
what they set out for. They got
legit title. You guys won it. You guys won a hard fought Super Bowl against the Bengals, one of the better Super Bowls in recent memory. You guys got your ship. OBJ got his ship, even though he got injured. But I'm gonna leave it with this: enjoy the gutter, because that's where you guys are.
Oh my god!
Just enjoy the gutter because that's where you guys are headed. I'm sorry, you guys are gonna be last place for at least the next. I mean,
for a while.
It might not happen immediately, but it's gonna happen, and there's gonna be a stretch where the Rams are the worst when they're gonna be back to the St. Louis days. They're going to have, another number 1 draft pick for their quarterback. I mean, they're not able to get their draft picks this year. I forgot the Lions are stacked with their draft picks now because they have the pick for Matt Stafford or whatever happened. So, yeah, like you said, they sold out. They mortgaged their future. They got their Super Bowl, but that's what you play for. So shout out to that front office for making the decision and going for it. All right, that's the injury report. And also Brandon Cooks there is injured. So they got that big matchup against Deshaun Watson, his comeback to Houston. So definitely going to be paying attention to how that game unfolds.
That'll be very interesting, by the way.
Super interesting. We talked about it during the week that the lawyer for all those women that filed the lawsuits against him, they have a suite at the game. We know the fans for Houston have hard feelings for Watson for, multiple reasons. So he's going to be hearing it. If Houston, I haven't been paying attention to most of their games other than what's coming on Red Zone when someone scores a touchdown on them. But if their attendance has been bad this year, they got to sell out this game. I mean, they got to sell out the Deshaun Watson comeback.
Just to boo,
game.
Right?
They just got to do that. Exactly, just to boo. Up here on the screen for those of you guys that are with us, and thank you to everybody that is with us. We got our fantasy football questions up here. You guys can always ask us Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We talk about fantasy pretty much every day amongst ourselves. And if you guys have questions, start, sit, or cut. Pretty much we're getting down to the nitty gritty right now. So last 2 weeks of the regular season going down this week before we get to the playoffs. We got a bunch of guys, 5th, 6th place. I got a league where there's 4 guys or 5 guys tied for the last playoff spot in terms of record. Sure, it breaks down because of points and stuff like that, but, it can go any way. So all these decisions that you guys are making here these next 2 weeks, definitely amplified. And, we want to help you guys as much as we can and help ourselves too, because we all play fantasy football and this helps everybody. So if you guys got questions throughout the rest of the podcast, hit us up and we will get to them. But we do got our flex zone. We got some guys up here that we think are going to be my bad here. We got some guys up here that we think are going to be playable for you guys flex wise. If you need a start because of those 2 bye weeks that we mentioned, or if you're just dealing with some injuries, one guy here that I put up was Rachaad White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's the backup running back for them, but as we all know, Fournette has been dealing with some injuries. And Rachaad White does give you the option of the pass catching back. So I know Fournette's been a pretty good receiver with his time there with Tampa Bay, but Rachaad White, that is pretty much his specialty. And they got a matchup today against the Saints. The Bucs dealing with some injuries on the offensive line. We all know Tristan Wirfs went down last week, but The Saints defense, they do give it up to the running back. I'm looking at their stats here. I mean, on average, they give up 100 rushing yards to the backfield, and they've been giving up multiple receptions to the backfield each and every week, except week 11 against the Rams. Well, because the Rams just don't really have pass catching backs, so they're not going to get beat in there. So give me Rachaad White here. If you need a flex play, I like him, especially in PPR. Even if he doesn't get you those rushing yards that we're looking for, I think Brady's going to be relying a lot on the quick passing game. So give me Rachaad White against the Saints. The next one on the screen real quick. I'm not going to give you guys much talk about it because it's pretty simple at this point. Jamal Williams just finds the end zone no matter what. I know he shares that backfield with Swift, but as soon as they get into that 10-yard line zone, they're giving it to Williams. The Jags don't have the best defense. The Lions playing at home. We all know they get a big boost at home. That Lions offense does. And Williams just been a model of consistency at that flex spot or running back two, depending where you're playing him. So give me those two running backs as potential flex spots this weekend. Justin, you gave us a guy here. You like a receiver.
Yeah, this week I like a receiver, Christian Watson. This comes on the news that Aaron Rodgers is going to play. They're playing Chicago, who's lost their quarterback of the defense, Roquan Smith. They haven't been the same since on defense. Christian Watson, 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, 2 against the Titans, 1 touchdown against the Eagles. Had a lot of receiving yards against the Eagles, 110 yards. Rodgers seems to have found his new guy. There's some chemistry there. I like him to get into the end zone at least once today against the Bears. So give me Christian Watson for the flex zone play today.
I like that a lot, especially when you talk about finding the end zone. And when you're playing the
big
flex
target,
position,
6'5".
Yeah, when you're playing the flex game, you need a guy that you can, pretty much consider having a chance of getting in the end zone. If he's not going to have like necessarily the volume, but Dubes is still out. I mean, where else do you go? If you're Green Bay at the wide receiver position? I know they still got Randall Cobb, but I definitely like this play a lot. And then you even look at the matchup against the Bears. They just give it up. The Bears are in give up mode. The Bears are in let's position ourselves for a good draft pick mode. So
how healthy is Fields today? He's going to be, not extending downs. The offense might be getting off the field a little more.
Exactly.
Look at those factors.
Yeah. So, give me Watson all day. Ron here, for those of you guys that are watching, is throwing out the college football top 4 as it's going on. I got Georgia and Michigan in the top 2 spots. We do have a question from Mark. He wants to know what our thoughts are on Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce finds himself on that other side of the Deshaun Watson Browns matchup, Browns versus Texans. We just noted Brandon Cooks being out with injury. The Browns defense, on paper, everybody expected a lot from these guys, but let me just read off a couple of stat lines that some teams have had against them. The Falcons running backs had a combined 30 attempts for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against these guys. The Chargers had 30 carries for 225 and 2 touchdowns against these guys. Patriots, 23, 86 and 2. Those are 2 touchdowns. Ravens, 33, 97 and 2. Dolphins, 28, 195 and 2. Bills, 30, 164 and 1. And the Bucks weren't able to score a touchdown, but they got 18 and 80 on these boys. So look, it's ugly because the Texans suck. I'm a Dameon Pierce owner. Very quickly can your day with Dameon Pierce be ruined because the Texans find themselves down 28-0 and your day is ruined because you can't run the ball. But if the Texans want to have any chance of ruining the Deshaun Watson comeback, it has to be through Dameon Pierce. It has to be through running the ball. Yeah. You can't let Kyle Allen go out there and throw the ball 30 times. You got to run the ball 30 times. Who cares if they know what you're going to do? Do it.
Be gritty.
I mean, that's the risk you run with Pierce, Mark. I'd like Pierce. I'm playing him. He's my running back too. I don't have a better option. I think I got Pacheco as another option there. So I got Pierce slotted in right now. Like I said, the Browns defense, they give it up to the backfield. So you got to play that and just hope that the Texans don't suck enough to ruin your fantasy day with Pierce. Sorry, I went a little long on that one.
All right, good.
Ron is starting him, and Ron also threw out Josh Palmer today against the Raiders. Got a high total in that one, 2 high-powered offenses, bad defenses. No Mike Williams again. Adam Schefter just said Josh Jacobs is in. Josh Jacobs is in today. And Justin, before we get to our picks, before we wrap up Flex Zone, do you want to give us a top 4?
I don't have them yet.
You don't have them yet?
My stream's behind, so if you have them.
Well, Ron said 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 TCU, 4 Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree with it. I'm very happy with it. I would have liked to have that 3 spot. I want to get Michigan back, but it's Georgia, and I think Georgia's the better team. So Georgia, Michigan. This is the year we could have had the BCS, and it'd have been okay. They're the top 2 teams. So,
but depending how big that spread is between Michigan and TCU, I might take TCU. I don't know.
No, Roland, don't do it,
dude. I'm never impressed with Michigan teams. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have been in the past, and like Ohio State ends up beating the crap out of them in the last game, and you're just like, okay, well, that was Michigan. Like they just run up I formation and try and run it down your throat until they can't. But this team might be a little different. Who knows? But those are the top 4. When do those games start?
January 4th.
Okay, so
I think it's those games. I'll tell you what, Roland, I'm looking forward to the college football playoff because December is just mute. There's no college football going on. We got to wait all the way till January for the good bowl games. It's time to get those good bowl games in the expanded playoff where you have something to watch next week,
Yep, no, I agree. So 5 Alabama. Sorry, Nick Saban. The lobbying
pitch wasn't good enough.
Did not work. Lobbying did not work. That was the college football playoff. I'm sure we're going to have a whole show dedicated to these matchups and breaking it down every which way. So definitely looking forward to talking about more about this and maybe do a little bowl game competition for the podcast and our listeners as we get closer to that. But enough of college. Let's get back into it. These are our picks for the week.
Ron is on the overs. He's the overs club, man.
We didn't have any picks week 12. We took a bye week, but we got some picks ready for you guys. Ron said, I'm not here, but I got some picks for you guys. And like Justin said, Ron's the president of the overs club right now. He's got 3 overs for you guys today, hoping to go 3-0. He's got Raiders versus Chargers over 49.5. He's got Vikings Jets over 44. And he's got Dolphins 49ers over 45.5. I definitely like all of those angles. I see where he's going. Dolphins 49ers, 2 high-powered offenses. Vikings Jets, good offense, bad defense at play with the Vikings. Raiders are capable. Raiders Chargers, bad defense, good offense. Definitely like that. Could you see yourself playing any of those? Is 49 too high of a total for you, Justin?
This year in the NFL, the unders have been the thing. And Ron said, I'm going to flip the script and give everybody the overs. I hate seeing unders games. I want to see points.
The unders. Yeah.
I'm with Ron. I'll tell him on all 3 picks.
There we go. I like it. I can definitely see myself tailing him on that Dolphins 49ers game. That just screams like 35-24 or even a closer game than that, 35-31 or something. We saw, and this is a point for the 49ers. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we saw what the Chiefs did to the Niners. And the Dolphins have a pretty capable offense. So I like that angle, Ron. I like all of these overs here. Let's get into my plays for the week 13. 3 short favorites for you guys and a teaser. I got the Lions -1. This is just pretty much for me. It's the last stand for the Lions. I have an interest in the Lions, and they're over 6.5 for the regular season. They're standing at 4-7. This is probably one of their better games left to get a victory on the slate against the Jags. Now, look, my thing here is I think the Jags are a little overinflated off of what they did last week. I think people fell in love with how they finished the game last week, and they came out with that victory. So I just buying against the recency bias, if you will, is where I'm going with that in their game against Baltimore. Steelers -1. This is just a fade on Atlanta. Atlanta was getting a lot of love in the beginning of the year for their against the spread record. They've since regressed. They have some injuries on offense. No Kyle Pitts, Mariota. He's been a gamer, but we all know what Mariota is. We've got the Steelers here, kind of two teams, different trajectories. Steelers, a team building for the future, got a young offensive nucleus in the backfield and at the receiver position. So give me the Steelers here, and I trust Mike Tomlin in the situation to get his guys going, even though they're 4-7. Chiefs -2.5. This is one of the games of the week. Chiefs -2.5 against Cincinnati on the road. In Cincy. Cincy is getting back Jamar Chase. Did not talk about that during the injury report, but I do believe he will be back this week. But give me the Chiefs just because of what Justin said. Out of all these teams that we've seen this year, I think the Chiefs are like, we know what they are. Like, I think we can for sure count on the Chiefs to show up. You know, we know what these Chiefs are about. They're going to be ready to go every week. The Bengals have been playing some good football, buoyed by Joe Burrow. But give me the Chiefs here. I like this under a field goal. It's going to be a highly contested game, but I like the Chiefs. I trust Mahomes more in this situation. So give me them for all of those reasons I just noted. And then 2-team 6-point teaser. Titans +10.5, Seahawks -0.5 point. Seahawks, real quick, just playing against the Rams. All those injuries that we noted in the injury report, got a bunch of guys out. Seahawks need the victory. They're still in playoff contention. They're still fighting for a chance at maybe winning the division, depending what happens with the 49ers. So give me the Seahawks here. Titans +10.5. This one might be a little bit of a sweat, but I like getting over the hook here with the 10.5 against the Eagles. Eagles dealing with some injuries. I like the Titans. You know, they have a good coach in Vrabel. They have a good run game with Derrick Henry, a good recipe to keep the game close, potentially keep the Eagles offense off the field. Decent defense, does have their deficiencies, but like I said, the Eagles are dealing with some injuries on the defense of their own. So give me the Titans to keep it close, +10.5, and the Seahawks -0.5 point. And I feel a sweep coming. I feel a sweep coming abroad. Moving on. Ben's picks. He's on the other side. He's on the other side. We've had some opposites here in the past weeks. Good thing for the pod is somebody wins on the pod when we have these situations. But Ben is on the other side. He is buying what they did against the Ravens last week, and he is just buying that the Lions suck. So give Ben Jaguars +1. He's on the Steelers -1 with me as well as a little bit of a pod pick, and he's on the Packers -4. He's gonna say, "Hey, Justin Watson, you're gonna help me cover the spread. You're gonna help
Christian Watson
fantasy points." Packers -4 against the Bears in the Windy City. He's buying Aaron Rodgers not going down like a punk. So I like that play there. And then, Justin, take us through your teaser of the week, my friend.
So I'm on the Ravens -2. They're favored. I think it's -9 right now. Let me just make sure. Ravens, they either win the game or they lose close in the end. And they're playing the Broncos. So that's just a fade on the Broncos. And we're just going to keep it a little closer just in case. I think it's safe at -2. Cowboys are playing the Colts. You know the Colts situation. Fired head coach in the middle of the season. And they're 9.5 point favorites. Going to take them down to -3.5. I think that should clear. I think Cowboys should win by a touchdown or more. So Ravens, Cowboys, 2-team teaser. 6.5 or 7 points. 7 points.
I love it. I don't know if Matt Ryan will walk out of that stadium on his own power, on his own will.
We're gonna get pressures.
They're gonna get to that boy. The Colts have a decent defense. It's not like a pushover defense by any means, but definitely like the Cowboys getting over that 3.5. They should cover the full game spread too. If we're being honest, they play how they're capable.
I gotta ask you, are we gonna wear that red stripe on the helmet this game?
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah,
case?
the red
Because
stripe's
man,
coming out.
whenever we wear the red stripe, it's not a good sign.
The
I
red
hate
stripes
those
coming
things.
out this game.
Yeah.
To salute the armed forces. So
Well, that's a good
definitely gonna have that
cause.
game.
Salute
And
them.
I think OBJ might be in attendance. You know, a recruit. We got a recruit in the stands.
Dude, I love what he's doing. He's turned this thing into a whole recruiting thing, man. I love it.
He's reliving his high school
Who
days.
wants my services?
Yeah, he's reliving his
Hey,
high school
Roland, but
days. Yeah,
if OBJ ends up on the Cowboys, I gotta, tip my hat to you. This is something you called a year back when you had that information that he had interest in the Cowboys all along.
And hey, I got it from a source that you might not respect, but he knew. And hey, the one thing that I'll say that my source told me that was right that I didn't know was that he's like, hey dude, he's like, I have insight. OBJ has a lot of family in Dallas. That's where all of his family's at. And OBJ said I think.
Go stay at my grandma's house.
It was somebody, Dez or Micah was going after OBJ on Twitter, and OBJ responded. He's like, hey, that's where all of my family stays. So, Dallas definitely in play. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. It didn't happen last year like we thought it might, but it might happen this year, and I'll take it.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you credit for it, too.
If they do get OBJ, I just do want to ask you, since we do have a little bit of extra time here, there's maybe we got 5 minutes here before the end of the pod. What are your thoughts on the Cowboys moving forward as it stands in the NFC? They have to be in the top 5 in terms of where you think the real contenders in the conference might be. I mean, you talk about contenders in the conference. Obviously, you talk about the 49ers. You've in the past talked about the Bucks. They're not there anymore. Who else do we got in the division? I mean, the Eagles are the class of the NFC. The Cowboys are there. Would you put the Cowboys above the 49ers in your power rankings in the NFC?
I put them just right below just because I still think the 49ers have a little bit of a better defense. And if we have to see them in the playoffs, they seem to have owned us lately in the playoffs. So I just put them just a little bit above us. And if you look at the futures, 49ers are listed ahead of us at plus 650 for the Super Bowl, and we're at plus 800. So I would just give them a little edge, give them the respect. You don't want to underestimate your opponent by any means.
Yeah, and the 49ers are a team that's been there, done that. Cowboys, not necessarily, or at least this group of Cowboys. So definitely agree with your power ratings there. I do just want to read off a few injuries before we wrap up for the day and before we set our lineups. I got to make sure my lineups are set. It's getting a little close.
Joku, I got that alert 5 minutes before we started.
Travis Etienne, he is going to play. That's as of 11:30. Antonio Gibson, also as of 11:30, will play. Jerry Jeudy will play, coming back from that ankle injury, playing against the Ravens.
Sutton and Jeudy.
Jamar Chase is expected to play. That's an afternoon game. So I know you guys who have been holding on to Jamar Chase, it's one of those things where you got to plug him in, right? We had this question a couple of weeks ago with somebody else.
So explosive, you plug him in no matter what.
Plugging him in right away, no matter what.
You have to.
Because if he's, I mean, they're saying
he was supposed to be back last week. He's waited a week just to make sure he was fully healthy. I think he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're putting him out on the field after this kind of a serious injury, we're talking about a hip fracture. He's got to be 100%. So yeah, Jamar Chase, load him up. Going to have a good game against the Chiefs. And his teammate, we talked about an injury report, Mixon. Oh, shoot. Oh, okay. They have not cleared him to play. He's still in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, he's not coming back today, I don't think.
Alabama Ron, Jameson Williams making his NFL debut.
J-Mo, let's go.
His NFL debut. Lions activated him yesterday. Wide receiver. Everybody knew about him coming into the draft. Got injured. That's the only news that I see so far. Yesterday we talked about him already, though. Elijah Mitchell on the IR. Joe's got a question before we sign off here. Interesting question, I'll say. And I don't know if I have an answer for you, but his question is Ayuk over Debo. Now, Ayuk has had a good stretch here. Past few weeks, I know he found the end zone last week, I want to say. Debo has been dealing with some injuries. I know Debo's he got cleared to play today. Shoot, man. And let me just, I need to check out Ayuk real quick. And
Just
before
off the top of my head, I would start Ayuk. I think he's,
You would?
he's been utilized a little bit more these past few weeks. Now that they got Christian McCaffrey, they're not lining up Debo in the running back situation, getting him loose. They're getting him on the outside, and we're starting to see the Debo exposed party a little bit. He's not as effective as a wide receiver. He's better in space coming off the backfield, if anything. Give me Ayuk over Debo on this one.
All right, I'm gonna back up my pod mate. I'm gonna go with Ayuk as well. I think Debo too, like you said, they use him out of the backfield. They have McCaffrey, so don't have to use him so much out of there anymore. And he is a little hampered. I know he's coming back from injury, but they might be playing it a little safe with him. And just look at these targets since week 6. Ayuk has had 11, 6, 7, 4, and 8 in terms of targets. So. And that includes he got into the end zone twice against Arizona. So it didn't happen against New Orleans. Ron wants to know Judy, Lazard, Smith, Pickens, or Palmer. You have to sit one. If I'm sitting one out of all those guys, I'm gonna sit Judy. I'm not gonna play Judy this week. If I had to pick between those guys. I'm not gonna play Judy first week back, and I'm done with the Broncos, man.
He's back off injury. I'm not sure what percentage he's back. Well, how much availability he's gonna play something. I think Judy's got to sit on that list. Shortly, I would say Pickens after that.
Yeah, same.
Start Thomas just my Njoku was hurt. Well, if you don't have anybody else besides Logan Thomas, you start him. If you got another option, throw it out of Skate. We'll look at the name and
let's look at some names real quick. Cole Kmet.
Or risk it on Taysom. He's saying risk it on Taysom.
Shit, I would say Taysom, but he hasn't seen a lot of activity in what seems like 3 or 4 weeks now. So a little bit of a caution there. I mean, Noah Fant available in a lot of leagues, rostered in only 32% of ESPN leagues. Noah Fant might be an option. Got an option against the Rams, could find the end zone. Gabe got another question. Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave?
Ohio State here.
You got to choose.
Let me see. The Jets are playing.
The Jets are playing the Vikings. Olave's playing the Buccaneers. Give me Garrett Wilson, Gabe. Give me Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson also just because of the quarterback situation. I just don't think the Saints got the right quarterback out there to feed Olave enough.
And they got that Mike White upgrade in New York. Crazy that's even a thing.
Yeah.
Just one moment.
He ain't giving up that QB1 spot. I'll tell you right now, Roland. He's not.
One moment.
All right. I'll take over for now while Roland tends to his little pup. We got Wilson or Olave. I like the Kings secondary, not good. I'm not sure what you mean. I think you're probably saying Vikings. Okay, Vikings secondary, not good. Yeah, Wilson definitely over Olave. You got to understand with Mike White there, he kind of, injected something into them last week, and he's not giving up QB1 spot this week for sure.
Yeah, crazy situation going on in New York, but definitely an upgrade for all their fantasy purposes with the switch to Mike White or Joe Flacco, honestly, over Zach Wilson. So I think that's it. That's all that I have for the pod today.
You got lineups, boys. Yeah, good luck. We know who the top 4 is. Me and Ron, and probably Roland, Ben, sometime this week. Probably get on a pod and just chop it up about projections for the Bulls once we see who's playing who.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll get to it. And thanks, guys, for joining us. It's 11:42. Like Justin said, go set your lineups. 18 minutes till kickoff. Let's get it.
Let's get it, boys. That's it.